Hello and welcome to the show. As you are aware that we have been going live from the various platform and we are today discussing about how the Indian economy is going to be set during pandemic called COVID-19. So we have today Mr. Pankaj Chaube, who is from the JP Morgan, one of the prominent banks that precisely care about how the economy goes forward and how things get settled, how things not get settled. So, Pankaj, I would like to welcome on our show, and I would like to know something about how do you see the Indian economy is going to happen on a global platform this time.
On the foresight, Anuji, thank you so much for inviting me for this show and giving me this opportunity to bring forth my point of view on the Indian economy. So, on the part, right, that how I see the Indian economy, right, during the pandemic COVID-19. So, there are two subsets of this part, right? The first subset that when the how the economy did maybe till quarter one, which is like April to June, that was certainly way beyond our expectations. That shrink by 25% almost, right? And that shrink just because of couple of key sectors that I can see as a manufacturing, I can see as a other than servicing, I would say, other than servicing all the sectors and other agriculture bearing, right? All the sectors that really fell and it was a free fall. So they fell by almost 23%. Constructions that fell by even 50%, right? So seeing all those situations in the quarter one, I do expect some kind of rebound in quarter two, which is like the figures is expected to come by September end, right? But if you ask me that how the shape will that be weak up like down and then upwards? I suspect that just because government has no fiscal plans because whatever the money they have already used for the COVID. They don't have reserves, right? RBI has already used its power to control and contain the inflation part. It's already doing its enough in a monetary space like selling and borrowing monies just to contain the inflation part and control the rupees movement, right? So the more space I do see at the government end where they can spur the consumption demand among the people, right? We've already seen the agriculture sector is doing well, like it grown by around 3 to 4% in the quarter one. We do expect the economy, the agriculture field to continue with the same space and even more that, right? We have seen the industries are opening up, infrastructure space is opening up, constructions line are opening up. So we can see some kind of positive right growth rate in quarter two. But if you ask that, will that be as what it was like 1 year ago? I would say no, just because that whatever the money it has, the government's consumption has grown up. I would say when it was 11% initially, now it's been close to 18%. But the private consumption is like down. So you know that the private consumption is a bigger chunk that has like 58% contributions to our GDP, right? When our private consumption is going down, so what government can expect and they should do that to spur the consumption, right, from the private people. Give them money. How you can give them money? I think giving a food just like the ration card is one of the I would say one of the best policies by the government, that the government is doing like 40 kgs, right? 10 kgs per person, where it was supposed to be 5 kg initially. So in that way, keep your manrega on, right? So that way is right. You can keep your employment at check, as well as you can keep continue like putting money into the public hands so that they can accelerate the expenditure pattern. I think that's the best solution we do see for now.
But do you really see what the government has done is enough to protect the common man interest and the business class interest in India? Because there are a lot of hue and cry that the people are saying no, the government has done nothing about them, and how the people are going to survive is something difficult for them to realize sooner or later. So how do you see about it?
See, I'll be very blunt to say that when you say common man, it's a common man is like in India, since it's a developing country, so we have a rich guy only close to 10%. So rest of people who are above poverty line, they're all known as a common man, right? And if I go by the numbers, what World Bank has published, I can see that close to 400 million people can go in a poverty circle, which is a very vicious circle, right? Once you enter in the circle, it takes like years and years to come back, because you will be losing your job, you'll be losing your other financial supports, and I mean not only you, even the close family members who you are on dependent on, or the people who are dependent on you in that case, right? So if I go by the World Bank figures, so it's close to 400 million people who will be coming back to poverty line. If that is so, it means 400 million people are going to lose their jobs, or they have already lost their jobs, right? But if you ask that whether the government has done enough to contain that, so from arranging the food so that they won't die as a hunger, right? In that case, the starvation case should not be there. So ration card and PDS doing its awesome job. If you talk about whether whatever the person who has lost their job, are they still in the race? I would say constructions, manufacturing, and you see the road, highways, and everything that has already opened up, right? So the people are participating in the employment in that case. Government has already increased the money supply to the Manrega. So in that case, whosoever the people, I mean, who are in a village area, remote areas, I would say they're part of that. So government from that point that has done enough. But if you ask me that whether government did enough in terms of providing them job security, no. And when you say government, does that mean government as a who? Are you talking about the local government? Are you talking about the central government? Whenever you say government, right? So the common tendency happens to pinpoint to the central person, which is not the case, right? Anuji, are you there? It seems we lost some connection. Can you hear me? Can see me? Anuji, can you hear me? Can you see me?
The things are going in place, especially for the Indian economy and how the people of India would survive during pandemic. So I think we have a lot of things to discuss. We wanted a lot of things to be discussed on, and we wanted to see how India could get progress even during the pandemic, and how the middle class of India would survive, because there is a huge number of middle class in India who are really in the crisis today, and because there are certain people whose EMI have to go, certain people who have different kind of expenditure, and it is exactly the people have to get on from them. So Pankaj, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I cannot see you on the screen. Can you please try to come up over?
Can you see me now?
Not at all.
Okay, it must be coming up in that case. I thought we lost connection like few seconds ago.
Yes, yes, there was some connectivity issue. We cannot, control over. It is not in our control to
It's
how, you know.
it's expected that technical glitch is something that can happen anywhere, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty okay. Can you see me now?
No, I cannot. I think there is a problem from your side.
I just tell me, give a thumbs up in case you can see me, right? Is that still an issue?
Yeah, yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, can you come up with your question? Sorry, I lost in the middle of that.
Okay, so the next question that goes that, as you understand, as you also know, that India has a large number of middle class, and they have certain problems. They are facing certain problem. There is job loss. There is a business down because there is a number of people. They are also trying to set up their small kind of businesses, small enterprises, and they also got some losses around it. So how do you see that they are coming from that kind of junk? Should government of India or the government of a state, help them? If it is so, how much they can do it?
Okay, okay, got it. So if you ask me, looking at the middle class, so I certainly look at with the two angle. The one is like whether you have enough food to survive, right, and whether you have a shelter to stay within your home, which are the two key indicators, right, to be I mean to carry on a good and respected life, right. So I have seen that government of India has already announced that till Chhat Puja, I would say, which is going to be somewhere in November. So at least till November, the PDS has already giving 100% extra food grains, and even to the people who have not their ration card. So this is a very big push by government of India from the food point of view, right? If you ask me from the shelter point of view, like middle class, they are able to pay their EMIs, like the job is lost and some kind of thing. So government has already given indicators that that continuation of that moratorium is already extended. But having said that, they are likely to pay interest, right? So paying interest is something which is really sub judice because that's in Supreme Court. But I mean, so many legal aspect is there. I would say that just to survive a common bank should fall because even the bank are taking their monies from there only to sustain and carry on their business operations, right? If you ask me that why not they should exempt everything and they should take the money from government, so in that case government of India can only provide money to the central banks like SBI's, PNBs and all, right. They will be providing monies to SDFC, IndusInd Bank and other banks to sustain and continue their business, right. So that's imperative with their banks how they want to carry on their business to be more empathetic during the pandemic. So on the two front, like monetary as well as from the food side, I'm very much clear that government of India is doing enough so that the common person, I would say per se, not only common person, even that life matters to even the rich people because the business is shut, right. They have so many obligations. I can see the malls and other things. You need to pay their money. I mean monthly rents, but your shops is not opening up, right. So in that case, whether it's a common man, it's a rich guy, it's a poor guy, pandemic has hit everyone. I can see since I also doing a trading in the stock market business, like I can see all the business from like let's take example of VIPs, Raymond, their stock prices has shrink by close to 80%. Can you imagine if your wealth is like shrinking by 80%? And take example, it's happening everywhere, right? So it's impacting everyone proportionally. Your proportion as a common man and proportion to the rich person can be different, but the impact is really proportionally higher side on the everybody, right? If you ask me that whether government of India, what should they do, I would say that from the job point of view, because the labor migration issue was really a big deal during May and April. We have already seen that. So the all those such labors, all those white collar jobs, pink collar jobs, wherever they are, it's a duty of the local government as well as the central government to continue the employment. But I would say if they are doing jobs in Delhi and Delhi is not opening up, if they are somewhere in the remote areas, right, local government should at least provide such a security so that they can participate in local jobs. Why not it's a Manrega and something else so that they can at least continue getting their livelihoods, right. So continuation of Manrega, continuation of other employment stuff that's being run by government of India, but that's being administered by state government, right? That should be in continuation. On the food part, we are very much clear. On the banking side, I guess bank can maneuver more in terms of lending their monies to the common people. but certainly the some kind of judicious aspect should be taken. I wouldn't say that banks should go ahead and like lend money to everyone, right? Because there should be some judicious aspect, and some prudent business decisions should also be taken, right? Otherwise, you have seen the Malayas, we have seen the Modis, and everybody who have like flown out of country just because of these liberal policies, right? So that's where I am in terms of that. And I would say, I mean, since economy, I would expect that by 2021 the economy is going to rebound. But having said that, we have already enough like 5 to 7 months that's going to be very crucial even for common man to sustain their business, to continue their business as usual, and their continue their lives as usual, and not only their lives but also the entire family who are dependent on that person, right? So it's going to be very crucial, very difficult. But I've seen that that's also proportionally related to the states where the impact is more. Let's say it's a Delhi, Maharashtra. Let's say it's in South, like I would say, just take example of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, right? The lives is really impacted because of that. But if you say in Jharkhand and Bihar, though it was a complete lockdown there, but I have not seen, as per the number of cases, I would say as per number of cases, whatever that's being reported, though it's disputed whether the enough testing is being done or not, but I would say that at least in that cases, the lives are really back to normal. And at least those poor states like Odisha, I would say West Bengal, Jharkhand and Bihar, at least these states where the India's like 60% population are residing in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, right? At least these states are back to normal. So which is a good news.
Okay. So the next question, and I think there is a common statement which is coming from this various people, whether it is political people or the economist or the activist, and even there are many people they are saying that no, the Modi government has not been able to handle the situation that is being coming currently, and they must come very concrete over the economic crisis that is happening in India. So I think it's one of the political statement that is coming across, and it's very important to have some light from you as well as economist, as you understand how the things are going to settled across the globe. So whether it is India or be it US or UK or any other country, so how do you see it, sir?
So Anuji, I would say, I mean, I understand the criticism, the 50 or 80% of that criticism is heavily loaded towards the political side, right? And even myself, I couldn't be apolitical because I have also political lineage. But if I talk about with the numbers, if I talk about with the relatability figures, right, how the world is doing and how the India is doing, then at least we can understand whether the Indian government is doing enough or not, right? Except, I would say, except China, because China, we have seen the growth rate in the quarter two for China is like 13%, right, for quarter two 2020. So barring China, because I don't know how China has managed to escape out from Corona's impact. So China is very, very weird case, I would say, which is we can't relatively compare with China. But take example of G20 countries, right? If you take a G20 countries, remove New Zealand, because New Zealand it was like in a complete lockdown, but New Zealand has done very, very impressive job in terms of keeping their healthcare system in a robust framework, keeping the numbers under check so that the numbers are not rising enough, and also keeping the jobs in a safe hand, right? Except New Zealand, I would say take example of Great Britain, take example of Italy, take example of US, and every country has got negative GDP figures in quarter two, and which is a only indication where we can compare countries to countries, right? So if you talk about that figures, so I would not be surprised to say that India is where the rest of world is there, right? I would say that India is like lagging somewhere else and world is like doing well enough in number of cases. The number of cases are rising, but mortality rate is not higher as compared to the Western countries. So in that case, you would say that certainly India has done great job in terms of containing the mortality rate. If you talk about managing the jobs, so I would say the same crisis is in US, same crisis in Britain. Why it matters in India more? Because India is not a developed country. Maybe for those people who are in Western countries, they have enough reserves to continue their lives, right? Maybe for 10 months. In India, that's not a case. And if that is so, so India is such a federal structure that the job and employment responsibilities lies also with the respective local governments. And if they have their own people, they should give them enough opportunity to continue their lives, right? How they can support them in terms of loans, in terms of employment, in terms of foods, it's up to them. But if I talk about the central government is already opening every industries, right? We have also seen that initially the life was the core at risk, because when the lockdown was initiated on 22nd March 2020, the government's only objective was just to save lives, right? Right now it's save lives as well as save jobs and save your like livelihoods. So in that case, everything is opening up. India is certainly hit hard in the second half of
Mhm.
the COVID period, where the numbers are like rising sharply, and just because that the due to the migration of labors, the pandemic and the corona impact that was very closely limited to the cities and urban areas, now that's being percolated down to the local level, at the village level, right? And if that's the case, that's what our central government was fearful of, that if that happens, it will be very very difficult to contain the impact if your
Okay.
villages are hit hard.
So, thank you so much, Pankaj, for throwing the light on the situation that is coming across, and especially on the economic front, where the people have, worried about that how we all can go forward, because there is a news report that the India's economy is going to be minus 23%, which is very high in terms of the number, and in terms of the impact on the people's life. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll try to connect you in days to come as well. So thank you so much, Pankaj. Thank you.
So, so Anuj, just to add one point, which is going to be my last line here. So,
Yeah.
India economy contracted by 25% in quarter two, but if we read the World Bank report, so you can see that emerging economy, including China, India, and Indonesia, these are the three countries which are part of emerging countries. They are likely to get the positive outlook in the coming time. So, I would say India is just about to rebound in coming times. This was very worst scenario, not a comparable figure at all, right? Let's expect the numbers by September end, and certainly there should be some green shoots.
Thank you. Thank you for your words. So, viewers, so now we are ending today for the discussion that we had about economic front. We had very good guests, and we will try to bring you in more time. And at the end, at the outset, I would like to request you to please do like our channel, do subscribe, and share among the millions of people, so that they could also get to know what we are going to do and what the views are coming from. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pankaj, once
Thank
again
you,
for
Amit.
your time.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Bye.